Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Boxing King Media. We're back here at Johnny Nelson's beautiful garden. How are you, Johnny? Another beautiful day out here in Yorkshire.
I know, it's drawing to the end of summer, isn't it? So it's sad times, man, sad times. The leaves are falling on the grass and in the yard, so yeah, it's a little sad.
You know, the craziest thing is, as the leaves are disappearing, I've never ever noticed this before, but as well as having chickens and dogs and ponies, you've got a gorilla in your garden as well. I've never noticed that before.
His name's Kevin. Yeah. Junior's right next to him on his left, on his right hand side. If you look at him, look slowly. He's been there a while. There's a few spotted around, so it's just to frighten people. So it was originally to frighten my granddaughter, but the fright didn't work, so I just keep popping around. I'm getting a goat next, so the goat's the next thing. So that'll be hilarious when that happens.
Yeah, that's pretty mad. I generally, for a split second, if in case anyone's wondering, that's not a real gorilla, because there'll be somebody thinking Johnny Nelson's got a gorilla in his garden. They'll end up reporting you somewhere.
It's a silverback, man. They're beautiful animals. They're beautiful animals, man. Silverback.
It's a very good option. A few things to talk about, Johnny, from the weekend. In fact, the first thing I'm going to drop in is I'm loving the T-shirt, the new Box Raw Valdez range. Brilliant gym T-shirts to wear. What are you saying? We've kitted you out. What they're saying?
You kitted it. Good fit. Wicked to training. Wicked to train, but even wicked to just wear out casually. So it's a nice little touch, that. So I hope you brought me some other goodies.
I've got a goodie for you from Team Usyk, because they're aware of what you said about him all them years ago about, him not being that good, and I think you suggested you'd beat him. I don't know, do you still stand by all them opinions you said about him, or has he changed your mind?
I changed my mind in regards to, I think he's the best one out there. I've not changed my mind in regards to thinking when I was fighting at cruiserweight and he was fighting at cruiserweight, I'd have beat him. I have not changed my mind at that. I think what he's doing is outstanding, but I don't think it was anything I'd not seen before. It's what that's how our gym lived. It's an unorthodox gym. You don't know how to fight. If you don't know how to fight unorthodox fighters, you've got no chance. And he's just run riot. He's run riot. But how he carries himself in and out of the ring, absolute absolute class, pure class. And there's nobody that's done that. And so that's why, for a man that's not from England, to actually have the support of the Brits when he's fighting a Brit, he's doing something right. So yeah, he's a good guy. He's done himself proud.
He definitely has. I tell you what I'm going to do is, the only way I can find out who wins Usyk and Johnny Nelson is the Undisputed game, because you're both in there, so we need to get you both to fight each other at cruiserweight in the Undisputed game and see what the game kind of decides.
Yeah. Well, I'm no good at those games, so I'm going to have to get my little nephew on the case because he's a wizard on it. But me, I get smashed every day, so I'll get my nephew to represent me when he's playing the game.
Yep, and again, if you're a boxing fan, if you haven't got the Undisputed game, you're missing out, because every man and his dog is in that game, all the top fighters from this era and the past. But going back to this little gift from Team Usyk, I'm going to let you open it up, see what you think of it.
What we got? Marley. You see? Marley! Billy Ray. He's chasing Billy Ray. Marley! Leave him. What we got? Bam! All right, what's that?
Ready to fight?
That's me.
Yeah.
Me and Usyk.
Yeah.
Ready to fight, baby. I'm too old for that. I'm just saying. This Johnny Nelson, forget it.
Yeah. Usyk's branded T-shirt, and what I'm going to do is, as we're in the mood of giving, we're giving a lot of stuff away in the last few weeks because I've got that many things I can just pass on. I've got 2 T-shirts for fans that can win them T-shirts. So, Johnny, I'm going to put you in the spot. I did this to Dom the other day.
Yeah.
If you can think of any question about your career that somebody can give the answer to, and basically, I'm going to give 2 T-shirts away. So I'll pick out 2 people that can win them Ready to Fight T-shirts. So just give me a question on the spot that you can think of about your career that somebody can answer. And the only way they can give the answer is they've got to message us in the Boxing King Media WhatsApp group, and the link will be pinned to the comments of the YouTube video for the WhatsApp group.
It's easy for them to pick if they go on BoxRec. I've got to think of something that's not public knowledge. I've got it. How many of my opponents have passed away? How many of my professional opponents have passed away?
That's going to be hard to find.
You can find it out, right? And you'll be surprised.
Yeah. So do you know the exact number?
I know the number.
Okay. That's a weird question, that. So how
Yeah,
many
but
of...
you know, when people search it, we think
Yeah.
this man's jinx.
Yeah.
But how many of my past opponents have passed away?
Okay, there you go. That's the question. How many of Johnny Nelson's previous opponents have passed away? If you don't know the answer, just drop in a rough guess. I'll get the answer off him, and whoever wins, we're going to do a draw, and you'll get a raffle number, and then we'll decide in the next few weeks who wins. So going on to the boxing, Johnny, I was talking to Dom the other day about, it was his birthday yesterday. He's turned 58. Looking after yourself at that sort of age. You're a big advocate for that with your fasting and training. You're looking in amazing shape. When you guys were young, I asked Dom this earlier. What was birthdays like in the gym? Did you guys do anything special? Did Brendan come around and do anything?
I think Brendan probably ran the gym like he ran his home. Tough love. Very unorthodox kind of teaching, very unorthodox kind of, you learnt the lesson in such a roundabout way, and that's probably why the boxing industry were jealous, envious, disliked Brendan, because they couldn't actually figure out what he was doing, even though he got the right results. He did everything wrong but got everything right. So when it came to birthdays, no, it was just, you got a fight coming up. It doesn't matter if it's a birthday, if it's Christmas, if it's Easter, you still got to train and be ready for it, because that's just a personal thing. You can celebrate it at home and just enjoy, but life goes on. So there was never an excuse to have the day off. It was never an excuse to not be in the gym, especially if you had a fight coming up. And actually, I suppose it's probably passed its way down. I'm actually saying, I actually think now it's a birthday. You appreciate it, but don't let it stop. I'm not doing anything today. I'm resting out because it's my birthday, so the whole world's stopping. It means you're one day behind everybody else. So no, it was acknowledged, but that's all, just acknowledged.
Well, I was thinking every time I interview you, I don't really tap into a bit of history. Obviously, I was like, I'm always going to get a little bit out of you. Here's a question for you. What's the worst bollocking you've had of Brendan where because I know you had suffered with what's the word? What word am I looking for without offending you? You suffered with confidence. Lack of confidence. Yeah. So what's the worst bollocking he's ever given you where you've probably questioned never going back to the gym? If you could maybe explain that moment.
The worst bollocking I ever got from Brendan was when I was boxing Carlos de Leon. Now, I think prior to the fight, remember, I'd only been boxing for 4 years. 2 years as an amateur, 13 fights, 3 wins. 2 years as a professional. I was boxing for the world titles. And looking back at it, I thought, bloody hell. You know what? I actually didn't do bad. I drew, even if it was a stinky fight. And for a kid from such a rubbish beginning. So even though I get flack about it, people don't actually realise, well, actually, this kid had 13 amateur fights, won 3. 10 pro, lost his first 3 on the trot. Eventually in the ring to box Carlos de Leon for the WBC title, which I drew. Fight stunk. And I got the blame for it. I was an inexperienced boy in a man's body. And I don't know if Brendan really and truly deep down thought I'd win, but I do believe that, he always says that you're gonna learn. You win, lose, and draw. You learn. And if you stick at it, what you've learned today will benefit you tomorrow. And I think midway through the fight, I think Brendan thought he could win this, and he was pleading. He was come on. He was giving me so much flack. I'd never seen that side of Brendan. I'd never seen you would get it in the morning. I'd never seen that side of Brendan, because he probably thought, you've got to grow up now, son. And probably he could see, if you actually apply yourself a bit more, you could actually win this. Whereas before we're going into it, thinking you're gonna learn and get yourself some credit out of it. Fight stunk the place out. But I think that was the first time I got a proper rollicking from Brendan, and I'm like, I felt bad for letting him down, but I understood why.
And just wrapping up on that, what was I don't know if you remember the last proper conversation you had with Brendan where, he was quite healthy. I know towards the end he suffered with a bit of dementia, but when was the last conversation? What do you remember about the last conversation you had with him?
Always wise, always smart. He'd ask about the family and stuff like that. He was just cool. Brendan was just he was that guy. He'd come out with words of wisdom, and I'm like, it's a gift that keeps giving. So, and Brendan, he'd be talking about the gym. And that's what he was on about. Always the gym, no matter where you were, the gym. So it was through his veins.
My personal favourite is fame and glory is only a twinkle in the eyes. No truer words. And then going on to current times, Johnny, we're going to jump straight into it, the Misfits show at the weekend. Before we talk about the main topic, did you watch the show? Did anyone stand out to you? Obviously we had the guys from Essex on there as well.
Well, Joey Essex, obviously that's what everybody's talking about. Joey Essex is a friend of Conor Ben's. I saw a bit of clip where Conor was sparring with him and Joey Essex trying to cover himself running around. But before that, Joey Essex, because he looked in great condition, and you think with his connections with the boxing world, you thought he might be able to do a little something. And he threw a jab at the bag, and he said, "That's all you're getting. You'll see a bit more." From that jab, I said, "That boy can't fight." The boy can't fight. And so I do. If a man's throwing a jab and it's like a loose rope, you think he's either put that on and he's really good or he's really bad. Then it came to the fight itself. One thing he showed a lot of heart, not ability. He can't fight, and I don't think he'll fight again. I think he'll be, one fight, one win, that's it. Because everybody thinks they can fight until they get punched. Everybody thinks they can fight until they're absolutely exhausted and all you've got left is their instincts. Your instinct is fight or flight. And it was funny. It was funny because he did so many. He turned around like, I'm tired. Wait a minute. But so it was funny, especially if you're a fighter, you get it. And actually, the crowd, they loved it because it was like that bad. It was that bad, and good on Conor. Conor got in there, to put his hand on his shoulder. Conor probably knew how bad he was, but he thought he's having a go, so good on him. And good on Joey, but I'd be very surprised if Joey Essex does it again. Funny enough, my friend, a friend of mine, Andy Nicholson, he used to play for the Arctic Monkeys. He said, "I want to fight Joey Essex." I'm like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I want to fight him." So I said, "All right, then I'll have a word with Kelly, but why?" He said, "I'll go on the Misfits, I'll fight him." So I thought, you've got a former band member of the Arctic Monkeys getting in with Joey Essex, but I don't think he'll do it. But if you guys are interested in that and you're an Arctic Monkeys fan and you want him in the ring with Joey Essex, send the comments to Boxing King Media. But it was funny. He was like, "I want that fight." I'm like, "Why?" But then after that, I said, he ain't boxing again. He's done.
One thing you raised there, and I was going to say that because it takes balls to step in, but the way he kept fighting back when he was hurt, like even professional fighters who train day in, day out, sometimes you may not have that in
Yeah,
him.
but he was naive because at times he was doing stuff that would get him knocked the spark out. And he's like turning away and his hands are right there. I'm like, oh, but because his opponent was probably of the same ability, that didn't happen. But you just think it's like somebody playing with traffic, dodging traffic on the M1. And you just, oh my God, and you're looking through your eyes. But, he got in. He got in, and Joey's that likeable rogue, he's that likeable character. So regardless of how bad it was funny. It was amusing, and it was interesting.
Did you watch Demi Sims, Tony Sims' daughter?
Yeah, I did. You listen. So Calais invited me to watch the Misfits before, and they said, "Johnny, you got it in your head. This isn't boxing. This is entertainment. So if you think it's entertainment, then you'll enjoy yourself." From 6 o'clock, it's packed out. You look at the graphics in the crowd. They're grown-ass men, adults. And you just think. And they're there from 6 o'clock. They're not turning up at 8 o'clock to see their mate fight. They turn up from crack of dawn. And it's packed out. And it's raucous, it's loud, and anybody's there because I suppose it's one of those, again, you're like, oh my God, it's that bad, but I can't help but watch. It's entertainment. That's what it is. So if you're going for a serious night of boxing, you're going to the wrong place. If you're going for a bit of boxing and entertainment, you're going for the right place. Because I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was amusing.
And the biggest topic of the night, we saw Darren Till absolutely smoke his opponent in 3 rounds, a brilliant knockout. We saw Carl Froch, Carl's said a lot of stuff about Darren in recent months on his YouTube channel. Darren jumped out the ring and he's offered Carl out. Carl sat back munching on his red apple. What did you make of that whole scenario?
First of all, I went, "Carl, what are you doing?" What? Because I know he's been giving Till some stick, and so I thought maybe he's there red rag to a bull, because if I've been calling you every name under the sun and I'm sat there ringside when you're fighting, you're going to get some abuse. So then Cole sat there cool as a cucumber, and Darren went at him, and then I thought, is this a setup? But then I know Carl's a bit of a madhead. So I know people were giving him stick saying, he sat there with nervous energy, he was eating the apple. Carl's a madhead, he'll fight you, he'll want to fight you anyway. So, and he's probably on the verge of snapping. And I'm thinking, you don't want to get involved in this thing here. And afterwards, I saw his interview with one of the main men of the zone, saying, "Look, there is an appetite there." So now the conversation is, will Carl do it? Carl's saying, "Give me 6 weeks, I'll smash him." Carl won't do it. Carl doesn't need to do it. Carl's got mad money, as he says. And the thing is that I think will keep him out is ego. God forbid he went in with Till and got turned over. Everything he said, everything he's done, everything he's achieved when he's doing his well-rated podcast. Now he's giving people ammunition. He ain't doing it. He's teasing. He's that cat. He's got that kind of humour. He's got a dry sense of humour. He ain't doing it. He won't do it. I'll be very, very surprised. But he's gonna have fun while it's going on. You know, are they gonna pay him the kind of money he wants? You know, to make his ego win? I don't know. I just don't. I've got a gut feeling it ain't happening. But he's having fun with it.
Well, he said he did a video the following day. He said about his nose. He said, you know, he's had his nose job and he doesn't want to damage his nose. But then he also went back and said, I'm not sparred. I'm going to do some sparring and see how all that works out. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time around him. You know, you speak to him on a regular basis. Is that him just doing it for the YouTube views, or do you think there's some genuine interest there?
His nose probably costs about $7,000 to fix. So the money he'll make.
How do you know it costs $7,000?
I'm just hearing that's how nose jobs cost. So the money he'll make, he'll fix that again. So
Have you had a nose job, Johnny?
no, man, I ain't into that, man. I didn't get it often enough. So that, you know, it's a bit of caveat to add a bit of humour to it. But if Carl did do it, I think Carl would smash him. But I just don't think he will do it because he's got that memory, he's got that something about him that he's at an age where he's still physically fit enough and strong enough if he commits himself to the preparation for it. But at 48, when you get to a certain age, you just think, I don't need this. You need an unnegotiable fire in your belly to train and fight, to train, to go through the training camp, to go through the moves, the up and down, to go through the things you've got to put to one side. And like at some points, how many fighters have you seen in the gym, the training? I'm coming back. Nigel Benn, Kel, all of them, they're in the gym. They get a bit of an injury. You know what? It's not really worth it. Once that fire's gone, it's gone. Carly's a nutter, but I don't think he'll do that. I really don't. I think he's having fun with everybody, letting him think Carl Froch is doing it again, and he can gracefully step out of that. Darren Till will have to hound him. He'll have to abuse him. He'll have to get personal with him. If he wants Carl in the ring, he's got to go above and beyond to get Carl in the ring. Because in all honesty, I just don't think he'll do it. I just don't think it'll happen. That's Carl.
Is it?
No, it's not.
So really get him on. But a couple of hypothetical questions for you. If they went at each other on the streets and in the ring, who wins on the streets and who wins in the ring?
Ooh.
Bearing in mind, Carl can fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can fight. And that's why I'll keep putting it. And I know it might be politically incorrect, but he's a nutter. But he can fight. I'd go Carl. I would have go Carl. And so I just find it amusing. I just saw him like, what are you doing, man? You don't need any of this. But then these guys that are coming through on this MISFITS circuit, they want to get a bit of a celebrity fight going on where things probably roll in their favour, and I suppose Till shouting at a 48-year-old former Hall of Famer, that puts him up there and creates. This is what everybody's talking about. That's what everybody's talking about. What happened on the night. Carl, if it's his indirect way of getting at, has he causing fake Paul, to say I put my toe in this. What you saying? It's interesting. I think you've got to offer him a hell of a lot of money for him to let his ego win and say, let's do this. But I think he's just having fun with everybody.
Definitely. So that's it really, Johnny. Unless you've got any other news in the boxing world you want to share, you know, I don't know, any news on Sky and boxing.
I'm going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. So I saw an interview with Coogie and Eddie about the most influential bloggers, YouTubers and stuff like that. You weren't mentioned. There was a big pause in there, but you weren't mentioned. So I'm asking you, what's your thoughts on that? I know what I think, but what's your thoughts? I'm like, I'll tell you what I thought. I thought, Coogan, why are you doing that, man? you know, because Coogan back in the day, he was the original Don Gargan. He was the one that started it all off, and then all of a sudden, he dropped the ball a bit, and all the young bloods coming through because he set a stall out, and he dropped the ball, and with him dropping the ball, I think he should have done it gracefully in dropping the ball, but I think doing what I think he's done, which was dubbed it out a bit when Eddie's naming the top 5. I just think it was like, come on, man. You know, anybody that knows what you've done, yeah, that's naughty. He shouldn't have done that. And I got a lot of time for Coogee there, but you know, sometimes you can be a bit childish. I thought I was a bit childish. And in all reality, you've got to look at the content that you guys put out. You've got to look at and compare the content that's going out. And the content is variable. The content it's got a lot of contrast. The content, you get information out, you get stories behind the fighter, behind the action. That's what this is about. It's not about just getting a quick, you know, if you want to get the jokey, non-serious side out of anybody, Coogan's great at it, but, you know, it's not informative enough. And I don't get it because Coogee was on it. He was on it at one point. But then, I suppose it's like looking at promoters. Jarvis Hussain, Mickey Duff, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn. At one point, they're all king of the hill at one point. But then eventually, you know, for one reason or another, they slipped and dropped the ball. Now, who's king of the hill? You know, you'd say business-wise Frank Warren. But even though you'd put Eddie Hearn up there because verbally he's the man, looks the part, talks the talk and walks the walk. He just hasn't got the fighters that he had. So what I'm saying is with Coogee, at one point he was king of the hill. And this is fair to say, you know, it's not something that's not untrue. And he's a celeb. I remember being out in America, Johnny, how's Coogee? I'm like, why? My man's done well. But now I just think he's dropped the ball a bit. And I thought, when I saw him, like, Coogee, what you done that for? I'm like, come on, you're better than that. So what was did you think you were the one that was dubbed out in that conversation?
To be fair, I wasn't expecting you to bring that up, but it's not, you put me on the spot now, but, you know, rather than entertaining that conversation, I think I was going to leave it with 2 quotes, which probably aligned with what you're saying. Be kind to people on the way up, because you'll meet them on the way down.
That's a Brendan quote, that is. That's a Brendan quote.
And then the last one is, fame and glory is only a twinkle in the eye. And that's going to be my response to that. You know what?
Your silence is golden. Be classy about it. I just thought, that was the first time I saw Coogee do something. I'm like, that's not classy, man. And as I said, I like Coogee. I got a lot of time for him. But I just thought, no, you shouldn't have done that. But that's just, it's business. So I watch everybody like you guys do. You have an opinion. That was just my opinion on that. So this interview will probably make people go back and look at that interview again and say, let me see this. But you've got to look at the ones that are out there. I think yours is brilliant. I think Carl Froch is brilliant. I think Umar's brilliant. Coogee was brilliant. And I think he has the ingredients to do it, but he needs to get his finger out and be the guy he was. No allegiance, get on with it, and get out and about.
Again, that's your opinion, but all I would say is that I agreed with Eddie's list. I think what the question he was asked was about most influential, and I agree with the list that he gave out, and I think he was right. He is number one because he's influenced more people to do that line of business, and whether he's still good or not, that's, you know, for people to comment on. But we're just keeping our own lane. But I think one thing I would say is, like, we've not had any help from promoters, you know.
You bought your followers.
Oh yeah, the follower myth and the buying views and buying followers myth. But like I said, I think the best thing I can reply to that is you can't run a business where you're buying views and buying followers, because you're just burning a hole in your pocket. Where do you make the money? You know,
the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm turning the tables, because you guys are usually putting on nose. So I'm setting the cat amongst the pigeons here. And so I chuckle at it. And when I see Coogee, I'm going to ask him again. I'll ask him the same and put him on the spot, because that's the game, baby. So that's the reason I'm asking the question. So sometimes from the outside looking in, you don't actually realise what's happening on the inside. So I just thought I'd stoke the fire a little bit. I want to see you two scrapping at a show.
That's the difference, you know. Everyone at Boxing King Media is like 3 of us that do the content, and none of us are interested in fame, getting on camera. We just want to create good content and keep it about the boxers. And that's not saying the people that want to be on camera are doing something wrong. It's just that's the way we want to do it, and for those people who want to do it, they will let them.
You're creating a service for the public, and that's what it is. It's not about you; it's about the service you're providing. And I think a lot of the YouTubers, they forget that. And I must admit, you know, when you're at a show and they're all lined up, and I like Eddie, I'll stay to the last man's there, because I think if this is your living and that's what you do, it's my responsibility. If you want to ask me questions, you want me to answer them, I'll hang about and I'll wait. And whoever I'm with, it might be frustrating for them, but I think you've got to let everybody earn a book. The only frustrating thing about it, which I find different with you guys, is that everybody asks the same question. They'll all be stood there and they'll hear what you've asked, or whoever's into me at, and they'll ask the same question. I'm like, why don't you ask something different? So, and I suppose everybody's individually thinking, well, this is when you look at mine, they'll think I'm the first one that's asked that question. So I find it a bit odd. So when you get somebody that asks different questions, then you're happy to spend time, you're happy to give them your time, you're happy to do it. And as I said, I don't knock anybody back. And I actually learned that off Eddie. And I've seen AJ do it, and I'm like, you know what, good on you. You know, Eddie, as big as he is, he'll hang about all night. He'll give everybody an interview. That's professionalism. AJ, he'll hang about all night, but the last man out of there, his people have got to drag him out of the place. And so, to me, you've got to let everybody eat. And so, and that's why it's important to treat people right.
Yeah, again, I can't comment too much on it, but we did speak about it more in detail in my new podcast with the legend Tyne Booth, which will be out after this interview.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive. He's kicking. He's got a job. He's living in a tent near a river somewhere. So yeah, well, I did. He actually brought it up as well. So it's a new podcast that I'm releasing. It's going to be out after this interview tonight, so keep an eye out for it. It's, if you like dark humour, not too dark, edited dark humour, should I say, you definitely will enjoy it. But yeah, I think one thing Eddie did say in that clip, he said that he made certain people, you know, because of the access he gave them, etc. But he can't say that about Boxing King Media, because we did it on our own. That's one thing we're quite proud of, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's why in your line of work, there's got to be some kind of integrity. You know, sometimes you could stitch a man up. A man could say something in an interview and you could keep it in and ruin him. And there's many times you and I have done an interview and you've got knowledge about a fight or a fighter and you've never grassed them up. And I might be running my mouth off and you actually know the truth. And afterwards I've thought, you knew that when we did the interview. And I actually respect you for that, because it means when me and you talk, it's only me and you talking, because the next man don't know my business and vice versa. And so it's not what people say to you in front of your face, it's how they chat behind your back. So it's that integrity that I find is important to if you want that respect, you know, to be real respect and not just surface respect.
100%. But yeah, we're going to leave it on that because it's getting quite deep, and yeah, we don't want to piss anyone off, but yeah, you're saying what you're saying, but you know, I'm not going to entertain it too much, but it is what it is. And yeah, we're all doing our thing. Johnny, thank you very much for your time again in your lovely garden, and nice to meet you. Have you got a name for that gorilla, by the way? What's it called?
Kevin, and the little one next to him is called Junior. So Kevin is after I've got a friend called Kevin Adamson, former boxer, and I just thought I just can imagine Kevin if he spoke with a proper Cockney accent like Kevin Adamson. So I just named him Kevin. So Kevin Adamson, I'll probably realise now he's named after the silverback in my garden.
Big up, Kevin. Johnny and Alton, thank you.
Respect isn't given, it's earned. In blood.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.